All right. So here we are tonight. I got myself, IDP Bob. We got at Item IDP. And debuting tonight, Fantasy Guru Bro, Ben
Yep.
Radde.
What's going on, everyone? It's Fantasy Guru Bro on Twitter, Ben Radde, aka a member of the Little Three, as we call ourselves for now. So we've been doing a little podcasting for our league, and yeah, I guess I'm coming up to the big leagues tonight, so I'm excited to be here, boys.
Heck yeah, we're glad to call you up to the bigs tonight, Benny. You know, not too many people can say that they have owned Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Leonard Fournette, Aaron Jones, James Conner, all in the same year. Oh, and Daryl
Devontae
Henderson too.
Adams, Tyreek
Davante
Hill,
Adams.
Travis Kelce.
Okay, we get it. We get it.
It's true, man. Ben does have one of the dirtiest rosters I've ever seen. So, and Ben's like, what? Shit. Are you even 21, Ben?
Yeah, 21 recently, so.
Awesome.
He's a sharp kid. He's a very sharp kid. We're awful proud of him.
Repping the Braun jersey and everything tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we will. It is.
I'm glad you're a Braun fan, man. That's there's everyone should be a Braun fan. Braun should never receive any hate ever.
Oh yeah, I'm just waiting for that LeBron Last Dance. That's gonna be sick. That documentary.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, boys. We're going to talk some offense. I think as of just a couple minutes ago, we are officially 3 rounds into the 2020 NFL draft. We're going to jump into the QBs, the running backs, the wide receivers. We might talk a couple tight ends and all the craziness that has ensued, especially tonight through the second and the third round particularly. A little bit of the chaos that has happened has been rookie draft picks and how their value has probably escalated, and the first and second rounds have probably shifted around a ton from the first night to the second. So let's just go ahead and jump right into this first round, and let's go ahead and start off. We all knew what was going to happen. Joe Burrow to the Cincinnati Bengals. What do you boys think?
Yeah. I love that. I mean, that's that's what you got to have there. You got to have a quarterback to turn things around, and I think he's going to be really good. And he's got great weapons already to start his career. They drafted Higgins. Yeah, man, Joe Burrow is going to be awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, no big surprise. I actually saw some dudes blowing smoke on Twitter that Burrow might not want to play for Cincy and he might try to get out of there, but none of that came to fruition. They made the pick, and I think it's a slam dunk. My only worry with Burrow is just his age. I wonder what some of the all-time great quarterbacks would have done if they got to play at 23 in college, but it was unique circumstances that put him there. He was competing at Ohio State where they routinely have, top quarterbacks. They had Dwayne Haskins, so can't really blame him. And then he showed out when he got comfortable at LSU, so I'm a big fan of the pick for the Bengals.
Yeah. I guess maybe one of my questions with Burrow, I guess for fantasy is going to be, Dynasty, especially IDP-wise, how far did he – drop tonight just because of some of these scenarios we're going to talk about here in a little bit. The T. Higgins grad that we'll talk about in the second round is pretty dope, but man, that makes super flex leagues even more difficult too, Adam.
Yeah, he's so in super flex leagues, he's probably still going to be right there at the top.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
He's got to.
But in single quarterback leagues, I mean, gosh, he could slide to the back of the second now, right? Just because as we'll get to, there's just so many nice guys who landed in, primetime spots. So
yeah,
even, some of the IDP guys, didn't land in his greatest spots either. So that'll push those guys back a little bit. So,
yeah.
I mean, this thing's going to be like, 30 deep, I think. And you'll be pleased.
And the thing with Burrow too is like he's walking into a legit team, and the grab with Higgins tonight. I actually love like giving him more offensive weapons. You've got Joe Mixon. Wow, that could be dirty. So yeah, we all think Burrow's going to be great. Let's get to these next 2 guys. Let's talk about them together. So the 5th pick overall, Tua. Yep, Tua out of Alabama.
Tua.
We're going to leave it at that. And then the 6th pick, Justin Herbert went to the Chargers, the quarterback there from Oregon. So we got a Miami boy here in Ben Radde. Ben, give me your Tua take.
Oh, man. So I'm a lifelong Dolphins fan pretty much. I actually started out as a Giants fan, so I can't say lifelong, but I got on the Dolphins bandwagon pretty quickly. It's not really a bandwagon because they've never been good, but I'm ecstatic with the pick. That's what I was hoping we'd take at number 5. We got burned in the past, specifically on Drew Brees, because we got spooked off by some medicals. And so I would really hate to see that 10 years from now we're looking back, we missed out on another great quarterback because of some failed medicals. And I'm honestly, at this point as a Dolphins fan, I would feel okay if in a year Tua is re-injured or something like that happens, God forbid. But just I feel like the risk is worth it when you've been where we've been. You got to swing big.
Yeah, for sure. It was tank for Tua. I mean, that was the goal all along, and he's looked good in these videos that he's been releasing. I know that you can make those things look better than they actually are. But I mean, by everything that we've seen and heard, everything seems to have checked out okay for him. So yeah, I mean, I love it for Preston Williams. I love it for Devontae Parker,
Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, nice there for him too. Who have and they haven't addressed running back yet, have they?
No, and I'll be scarred as a Dolphins fan because we were one pick away from CeeDee Lamb falling into our lap and pairing Tua with CeeDee Lamb for the next however long. And so I'm sure I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure Austin Jackson's going to be a fantastic player, and offensive line is a need, but I would have loved to see CeeDee there.
Yeah, that would have been sick. What Tua play at all this year, you think, Ben?
I am praying that he does not.
Yeah.
Knowing our front office, our front office typically would be the type to rush it, but I think Brian Flores isn't really the type to rush it. He struck me as pretty disciplined and committed to the long-term vision. So
yeah, that's smart, man. Tank for Travis. That's a good one. Little Travis Etienne share. Grab him in 2021. That'd be a better pairing. So let's get to Justin Herbert real quick. Either of y'all big Justin Herbert guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with him. I mean, I think I think he'll be able to sling it around, quite a bit, and I don't think it's going to hurt that he has some really nice weapons to do that with. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler. That's a big winner out of all this, out of the draft so far. I mean,
for sure,
he's had no more competition come in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all set up for Herbert. Herbert arguably has the best weapons out of the quarterbacks right now. So I like Herbert.
Ready?
Yeah, Herbert kind of strikes me as the same type of mold as Josh Allen, a little raw, but really big physical guys. But I think he might be, in my opinion, a more polished passer than Allen was. Doesn't have the same type of rocket. It's not like he could throw an 80-yard bomb like I think Allen actually might be able to. But I think he might take a year or two, but I think he's going to be a nice player.
Hey, he's got nice hair, though.
Yeah, the flow.
Sure.
I like Herbert, man. I agree, Adam. I think he might be walking into the best situation. Probably helped himself a little bit with the combine. He had a really good combine. Showed out pretty well. I know the need there at 6 for the Chargers. You don't really want to have to run with I almost said Deshaun Kaiser. It's not Deshaun Kaiser. Tyrod Taylor forever, which he'll probably play a couple games. But, yeah, Herbert's probably the long-term guy there.
It'll be similar to the Cleveland situation.
Oh, yeah.
With Baker. Like, he'll get out there for 3 or 4 games, and then the fans will start throwing stuff on the field.
Yeah.
We've seen enough.
Or maybe the fans won't be there, so they can't throw anything on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of fans going to those.
So let's get to the meat and potatoes now. Enough of this quarterback nonsense. So let's get to the first wide receiver off the board. The 12th pick in the draft, Alabama wide receiver, Henry Ruggs, the first wide receiver to be drafted. Not sure that any analysts actually had Henry Ruggs going over the likes of Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb, but the Raiders decided to take him there at 12. So y'all happy with that? Was it a reach? Give me your thoughts.
Al Davis smiling, looking down. Yeah, Ben shared a tweet today in the Slack about that. Yeah, that was a thing on Twitter, right, Ben?
Yeah. It was like Al Davis' son said his dad was smiling down when the Raiders made their pick.
The ballingest thing about Ruggs was just that like white robe he had on, like while he's just chilling at his house.
Was he sponsored by Old Spice? That's all I could think.
It was bizarre.
He was. I noticed a lot of those guys were. A lot of those guys are sponsored by Old Spice, Pizza Hut, all the essentials.
Crazy. So are y'all happy with that pick?
It doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not upset with it. I thought Ruggs should go in the first round. I thought he should probably go in the top 15 just because he adds a new dimension to an offense. Mm-hmm. But how can you really justify that a player in the same offense with the same quarterback produced not nearly as much, but you take him first? Like, I don't know. I just can't really justify in my head a reason to take Henry Ruggs over Jerry Jeudy or CeeDee Lamb, but especially Jerry Jeudy when you're going to look and say that, no, we think he's going to be better in the NFL than he was in college. So It's an interesting pick.
Yeah. Is he but is he like, a Tyreek Light? I guess obviously what they see in him. So, could we see that happening?
I could maybe see it, but he doesn't remind me of Tyreek in his quick twitch. He's got that Tyreek long speed, but when you're watching his tape, you don't really see a lot of those, crazy spin move, juke moves like Tyreek does, and then he accelerates out of them and he's 10 yards ahead of everyone. It's kind of like he builds up his speed, but then, if you give him a little bit of space, he's gone.
That's a great assessment, Radde. When we went and watched the Titans and Kansas City play last year, when Tyreek got the ball, it was just like, it was very twitchy. It was very like herky-jerky. Like he was so like hard to actually like pin down what he was going to do. And it wasn't necessarily that he was 20 yards down the field. I mean, even in like screen passes and stuff, it was hard to kind of analyze him. So yeah, I agree. I do think that the whole Tyreek Hill kind of narrative of how he plays into that Kansas City offense, you've got all these other teams that are trying to like emulate that, So I'm sure that's what Gruden's doing there with Ruggs. They're trying to, and we'll see here later on when they go wide receiver again. Clearly, the teams in that division, not only them but Denver as well, are just trying to compete on the scoreboard with Kansas City. Yep. So let's jump down here to when Jerry Jeudy actually comes off the board, the 15th pick. The Alabama wide receiver goes to the Denver Broncos and Drew Lock. What do you boys think about this one? I'm still on the fence about it, but Adam, give me your take.
Well, maybe we're all under. I mean, I know a lot of people aren't, getting all hot and bothered about him going there, but maybe we're all underestimating Drew Lock.
Yeah.
What if Drew Lock's actually is really good, which he showed showed quite a bit of promise last year at the moments. But yeah, I mean, they've done a really good job of putting talent around him as well. With Cortland Sutton, Noah Fant, brought in Melvin Gordon. Then they drafted someone else later on.
Yeah.
Hamler.
Yeah.
Is that right?
KJ Hamler.
So yeah, I mean, it's all set up for him. I like it. I mean, I think he could do really well there.
Yeah, I think it's funny when the Broncos took Paxton Lynch and they kind of sat him for a few years, and a lot of people in Denver at least accused the Broncos of not really setting him up for success. And I think they might have taken that to heart because you cannot set someone up for more success than Drew Lock right now. They've got Noah Fant at tight end who could be a stud. Cortland Sutton emerged. Jerry Jeudy was probably my number one wide receiver and one of the best route runners I've ever seen. They get KJ Hamler to go along with that. And then, oh, by the way, they just added Melvin Gordon to a running back room that already had Phillip Lindsay, who's a beast.
And Royce Freeman, Ben.
Yeah. Royce Freeman too, Bobo.
Yeah, man. I think y'all are exactly right. I think let's not sell Drew Lock just yet, great situation. I mean, you could almost say kind of the same thing as Herbert. You could almost say the same thing as top of the draft, freaking Burrow. You got a lot of these young wide receivers, except for Tua, really, that are coming into freaking primo situations. It's not the, Brady Quinn's walking into Cleveland and just hoping that they can get a receiver to throw to. You got some really, really nice spots there. So we'll go ahead and get into this next one that I'm super excited about. The 17th pick in the draft, Jerry Jones just couldn't let CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver out of Oklahoma, pass him by. I'll give you all my take first. I think that the 6'2", 198-pound CeeDee Lamb was the best prospect coming out of this draft. And I'm going to play him as my wide receiver one in Dynasty right now. I know that people think Amari Cooper, Gallup, Dak, there's a lot of question marks there. I think CeeDee is better than both of those guys. The Amari contract probably looks a little bit stupid right now. $100 million for 5 years when you get a CeeDee Lamb at the 17th pick in the draft, and you still have Dak that hasn't been paid. But let's not fool ourselves. CeeDee Lamb could be a generational type talent, at least to me. I'm very, very high on CeeDee Lamb. And, CeeDee Lamb might not have the production in 2020 that's going to propel you to a championship, but let's all be a little bit patient with him. I think you're going to have some time with CeeDee.
Yeah, man, he's a baller. Everything I've watched of him, just such a freak after the catch too, But he has everything. He really stands out on tape.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm not crazy about it as far as fancy goes, just because there are so many other receivers there, and also I don't trust Dak to be like a quarterback that gives one of his weapons like 1,500 yards and I just don't think that's going to be possible with Dak as a quarterback, just because I don't know, man. He runs it a lot, and he's not going to I don't think he's going to target anybody on offense.
And Zeke,
and also we didn't mention Blake Jarwin, Tony Pollard. They're loaded up with options there.
Yeah.
That's a common theme I've noticed so far. We've noticed these teams are going out and stacking their rosters and their depth charts, and man, there's some sick units forming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could call that the Chiefs effect. Once they took McCole Hardman when they didn't need to, I think that opened the floodgates a little bit. But man, it does not get any more iconic than Jerry Jones, no scouts around him, sitting in his yacht, picking the best player available, skewing a need, and taking CeeDee Lamb and bringing him into Dallas. It's such an on-brand move. I loved it. But, for fantasy, it is one of those things where, the cream rises to the top. CeeDee is so talented. It's really hard to imagine him not finding a way to carve out a role, whether it's, Amari who gives up the most targets or Gallup who gives up the most targets, or if he takes some of the tight end share, he's going to find a way to produce. He's that type of player.
Yeah, I agree. I think CeeDee could be real nice, but I agree with you too, Adam, and that Dak is probably a little bit of the problem there. And you've got a team that's a run-first team. And you maybe have one of the best backups in the league who might not get a ton of play this year, in a Tony Pollard. So Pollard is super interesting to me. I wish they could incorporate him into the offense a little bit more.
Me and Ben danced around a Tony Pollard deal for a little bit.
Okay.
I think there might be a little love triangle here with Tony Pollard.
Ooh, I might ask about old TP.
TP.
Old TP. The one who needs him isn't here. He's with his wife.
Yeah.
Making us look bad as husbands.
Oh, man. Let's get to some of these interesting picks. Not that those weren't, but the 21st pick in the draft, one of the most wide receiver needy teams in the draft. Philadelphia takes Jalen Reagor, wide receiver out of TCU. So, Benny, one of the faster wide receivers in the draft. Did you like this pick?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid pick. I can't say I would give it the A+ because I really thought Justin Jefferson made a ton of sense there. He's got a little bigger of a catch radius. I think he can do a little bit more of the high pointing that Alshon Jeffrey is going to not be asked to do as he gets older or leaves the Eagles soon enough. And so I'm surprised he didn't go Jefferson, but I think Reagor is a great pick there. He's going to stretch the field for Wentz like no one he's had for a while, other than Deshaun Jackson for his little brief stints when he was healthy. But, yeah, I think it was an interesting pick for them. I definitely describe it as boom bust. I don't think it's a guaranteed thing, but I think if Reagor hits, he could be one of the best wide receivers from this draft.
Yeah. I worry about how good Wentz is at making him. I think Wentz is really good at those intermediate throws and throwing like in the middle of the field, but I mean he's never been someone that's had a great deep ball. It seems.
Jalen Hurts might be the guy now too. That was a crazy pick.
Right? How weird was that? That was man. Some of these quarterback rooms got a little tense.
Oh yeah, the Love pick is easily my biggest WTF pick of the night. I mean not of yesterday, but I was like, man, Aaron Rodgers is probably sitting there like, oh, we're trading up. Who are we getting? Are we going after one of these RBs? Are we going to get me a big wide receiver? Oh no, we're taking my replacement.
Boys, I just put this together. Love hurts.
Oh, that's a good one. It might have to be the name of this sode.
Yeah.
We'll peg that one down. I agree, Radde. I think Reagor could be boom bust. I've never been sold on Wentz. I think he's fine. He's kind of the Andy Dalton. He's the prime meridian. He just kind of seems to hover around the 15th best quarterback, in the NFL. He doesn't really impress me. And he's not super healthy. But, yeah, Reagor's talented. But, gosh, man, you talk about a freaking team that needs some wide receivers. Alshon, Deshaun was so unhealthy last year. They got to the point to where they were running out Chris Ward.
Yeah.
I mean, a practice squad. Greg Ward, that's right. Aguilar's gone. I mean,
they got Ortega.
True, JJ.
I think he was hurt though last year. In fairness, that did come out. No excuses, but it wasn't a great look, obviously. But year two, we're still holding out hope for Ortega.
Man, I got an interesting little question. If you think about how this draft went, Arcega-Whiteside was a fringe round 1, round 2. You think he's even a second rounder if he gets picked in the exact same spot to the same landing spot in this year's draft? So it's going to be a crazy year.
Hell no. He's a 4th rounder. What about Philly maybe runs out more like 2 tight end sets this year? Just run Ertz and Goddard.
They were already doing that a lot. I mean, but how much of that was out of necessity just because all the wide receivers are so banged up?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think everything that we've heard from Philly is that they love Goddard and they want to keep him on the field as much as possible. I've even heard Ertz mentioned in like trade rumors and stuff. But either way, I think those two are going to be on the field together. And I think you're going to see a lot of Reagor, a lot of Ortega, and maybe they add another piece at some point too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's still a lot of wide receivers that are free agents out there.
Yeah, Miles Sanders is really good at catching the ball as well. His value has certainly improved with them not picking anyone.
Yeah, I'm definitely a Sanders truther. So let's travel a little bit north, and with the 22nd pick, the Minnesota Vikings select Justin Jefferson, LSU wide receiver. Adam, are you happy with this now that you see how the whole Stephon Diggs trade kind of transpired and what you all were able to get back out of that?
Yeah, yeah. How can you not be, man? I mean, you got one of the best receivers in this class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you got rid of someone who wasn't happy, who was just kind of a headache to deal with. Although I'm gonna miss him. I had to burn Silas's Diggs jersey. That was, but
In front of Silas?
oh yeah, I made him light it. So yeah, he knows how to flick a lighter now. It's great.
That's awesome. Yeah. Pour gasoline and everything.
He did all of it, man. It was scary.
Was he at daycare or he at home?
It was here at the house.
In front of his friends?
Yeah. But yeah. Well, who are we talking about?
Justin Jefferson. My only question with Jefferson is just he ran out of the slot a lot at LSU, and I know Thielen loves that slot. That's my only question mark there. I think Cousins is fine. I think Jefferson's going to eat. I mean, I really like that landing spot for him. But as far as how that physically works for that team, it's going to be a little bit interesting.
Yeah. It's a fun offense, though, man. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun pieces together. I mean, you know that I love Irv, Dalvin Cook, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Thielen, I think he'll have a much better year.
Dude, even freaking Kyle Rudolph is a great football player. He's not great for fantasy, but as far as like an NFL team, he's a great tight end.
Yeah. So I was thrilled with that. I mean, and also it's a salary difference of probably like 6 or 7 million.
Yeah.
And he's under contract for 5 years. So yeah,
it's a big deal.
Yep.
Radde, you a believer in this pick?
Yeah, I'm a pretty big fan. I had the same worry you did about the slot, but I honestly had that worry a lot more leading up to the combine. I kind of was worried Justin Jefferson might have to get pigeonholed as a slot guy, and then he came out and ran that 40 that kind of blew everyone away. And I thought, okay, I think this guy can play outside a little bit.
Yeah,
I think they were playing with Joe Brady, who was a master schemer. I think he really gets the best out of his players, and so I think it wasn't as much he couldn't do it, as much he wasn't needed to do it and wasn't asked to do it. And so
yeah.
I think he'll be able to kind of diversify a little bit as a pro. And I love him as just a consistent target that Kirk Cousins can look to on third downs and when he needs to get some yards.
Dude, something people need to think about too is Joe Burrow and Kirk Cousins are very similar. They're both very accurate, good armed quarterbacks. So I think that Jefferson can see a lot of the same passes that he was seeing from Burrow. I really like Jefferson. So let's talk about maybe one of the highest moving wide receivers. So at 25, San Francisco traded up here, right?
I think, yeah, they traded up, and then they traded back from 13, but then they picked Kinlaw at 15, and then they traded up to get to.
Dude, so how freaking brilliant is it that you ship off DeForest Buckner and you sign Eric Armstead, then you grab maybe the best defensive tackle out of the draft in Kinlaw, and not only that, you're able to jump out and grab one of the best like Swiss Army knife type wide receivers in this year's draft in Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver out of Arizona State. So, Radde, I know you love these little shifty slot, I don't know what Ayuk ran, probably like a 4.5 or something, 40.
I think he's in the 4.4s, I think 4.47.
So what's your take on this one? I mean, putting him into that Shanahan offense, that's got to be pretty dirty.
So I watched a lot of Ayuk because firstly when I was watching Harry's tape last year, but then also I have a lot of buddies who go to Arizona State right now, and so they kind of give me the loop. When Balaj was coming out, they said, "Yeah, don't draft this guy." And I was kind of hype on him because he had a lot of good measurables, and I said, "All right, guys." But so I think Ayuk, for me, he was probably one of the most landing spot dependent wide receivers out there. He really needs to be schemed around, but I don't think he'll be their kick returner. They've got a lot of competition there. They have so many good kick returners. Dante Pettis was amazing in college. Debo could do it. Now Ayuk, but he can do it if they need that. They can use him in the running game. It's going to be ridiculous. Some of the option plays they can run where, you fake it to Debo and get it to Ayuk, or you run Ayuk out of the backfield and then you do a fake jet sweep and pass it to Debo. He's the perfect Shanahan piece. And, I don't know who I like more out of him and Debo. I think they're really similar. I could see either one emerging as the 1A. It could be a 1A, 1B situation. But, yeah, I love him there. I think he's making a case to be in the top 8 of rookie drafts, I'll say, without really doing a lot of research.
Ben, you know who that alpha is, Ben. You know who that alpha is. Debo. You know that. Yeah, man. It's a great move. I mean, I really like that move a lot. But I don't. I like it for Debo. I think we saw Debo play better when he had when he had someone else opposite of him that was confident. I obviously thought that it was going to be my pink-haired baby, but something's wrong between the ears with that one, I'm afraid. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to happen, and I think this is even more of a confirmation that that's probably not going to happen, at least not there in San Francisco. Shanahan seems to hate Dante Pettis. So.
Yeah.
My only problem with Ayuk is just probably, Debo's good, and that offense, it's kind of the same thing that's frustrating about owning Raheem Mostert or Tevin Coleman or Matt Breida or Jeff Wilson, or freaking the re-signed Jerick McKinnon, is like who is Shanahan going to use from 1 week to the next? Yeah. It's a freakish like NFL roster to try to like play defense against, but I don't know, man. That's Ayuk's kind of a crapshoot for me right now. I think he's going to be good, but I think you could have some up and down weeks with him.
What do you think they would have been better off taking like a running back there, like taking like CEH or DeAndre Swift? Like, would you have rather seen them take a running back and then just get rid of this whatever this 3-4-headed monster is? What do y'all think?
I think you're probably right, because you got to think too, they've still got Jalen Hurd, that was hurt a bunch last year. So people forget about him. I think that Shanahan wants that 3-headed monster. Like, I don't think he wants that bell cow.
Probably right. Yeah.
And I think it could get muddier this year because they've kept everybody. I don't think Breida maybe will stay around. But I think that McKinnon will probably take some shares this year.
Yeah, I think Shanahan might be so good at scheming that he does not need a running back. I think, every running back he's plugged in, Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Tevin Coleman for weeks, Matt Breida. It seems like whoever he puts in there is going to be successful. He just needs to get the attributes he likes. So he finds, speedier guys. You can find that in undrafted free agents. So I don't know if it makes a ton of sense for Shanahan to ever really draft the running back super high. I think if he was going to pivot the pick, I'm a homer because I go to CU, but I would have loved to see him go with Laviska. I think Laviska is, at 6 foot, 228, he's like a running back pretty much. And he, in my opinion, is what Ayuk wants to be.
And him and Debo together, man, that would have been something,
Oh, yeah, I know.
And just the drip from those two. I mean, just get the buckets out.
That's what's awesome about this draft. A lot of influx of drip.
Oh, yeah.
CeeDee Lamb dripping out, grabbing his phone from his girlfriend. That was Steve's.
Speaking of Steve's, let's get to maybe what was the one of the most controversial picks probably of the draft. So the Green Bay Packers, who have not drafted a positional player in the last 15 years in the first round, I think I saw.
Yeah, skill position player.
Trade up to grab Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State. I'll start. I'm a big Love guy. I really think that Jordan Love can translate to the NFL. I don't think he is Patrick Mahomes, but I think he carries a lot of Mahomes personalities. I don't think he is much of a runner as Mahomes is, but the way he kind of moves around in the pocket, you watch Mahomes a lot, and he's fading away when he's throwing the ball, or he's moving a lot when he's throwing. I think Love carries that same type of thing. I don't think Rodgers is the guy forever. It does suck for Rodgers, though, not having anybody to throw to. For him, I do hate that. But for Jordan Love, I think he's a nice stash in Dynasty right now.
Yeah, so I'll start by saying I'm not a Jordan Love fan, and I honestly didn't think the pick made a lot of sense. But traditionally, what I've found is when smart front offices like the Packers make a pick like that, that's kind of what the fuck. Oh, sorry, Josh. Yeah, I kind of take a second because a lot of the times they work out, You see these kind of weird plays that don't make a lot of sense. Like Mahomes was one of those. People are like, they traded up to take this guy out of Texas Tech, and then it ends up smashing. So I have enough faith in the Green Bay Packers front office that I'm not going to completely write it off. But I got to say, at first look, I don't understand the pick.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is going to be probably pretty unpleasant this year. He's going to be angry the entire year. So I would probably suggest to maybe target Aaron Rodgers in redraft, but this is definitely not good for his dynasty value. And could we potentially maybe see a trade at some point?
New England?
New England?
Bill?
Very sneaky.
That is true.
I'm surprised they didn't leave the draft with Watson already.
Dude, I saw there was an alert I got on my phone today that it was like Houston Texans have begun discussions with and I saw Deshaun Watson and I was like, oh God, they're trading him. Then it was like, no, they've begun discussions to work on a deal, an extension. So,
Bob, sending Deshaun up north. Yeah, so let's get to what ended the first round, but kind of started the juiciness of what could be a 101 possibly in a rookie draft. When Andy Reid, the Hawaiian shirted Super Bowl winning coach, drafted Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the running back out of the 2019 NCAA football champion LSU Tigers. So not at all who I think we thought the Kansas City Chiefs were going to grab, but I like it. Radde, what's your take on this? The running back over there himself.
So it's really funny. Kind of the first round recency bias that happens in Dynasty every year. I remember last year, N'Keal Harry goes at the end of the first round of the Patriots, and everyone starts screaming 101, 101. And the same thing happened as soon as Clyde, when I saw Twitter, our league was like 101, it's finished. And I think he's in the running for 101, but there were some other nice landing spots. I don't think it's a open shut case. But in terms of offenses and skill sets, he's a pass-catching back in an offense that is an all-time great passing offense. Andy Reid has proven time and time again he doesn't need a guy who has 4.4 speed at running back. He just needs a decisive runner who has good cuts, which, it doesn't get better than that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this draft. So I think looking back in retrospect, it's not as surprising to me that he went first as it was in the moment. When you look at Josh Jacobs, not a super fast guy, but he just had really good tape, and no one has the tape Clyde Edwards-Helaire had last year, leading his team to the national championship with Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Andy Reid found his Brian Westbrook, one of my favorite all-time players. I think he's going to be awesome in that offense. And yeah, Damian Williams. I noticed Ben in one of our leagues, you put Damian Williams on the block today.
Yeah.
Coincidence.
Yeah, I love the CEH take there. I think you're right. I think that Andy Reid can make a lot of insignificant running backs look good. You look at an undrafted free agent in Damian Williams, and had some decent runs and stuff last year. But the biggest thing that these first round picks show me are that these were the teams' most glaring needs. And Damian Williams was halfway benched last year for the Chiefs. So I think they saw that this was one of the biggest needs to not only become a better team, but just kind of, almost kind of build their dynasty. I mean, nobody's going anywhere. Sammy's staying around. They're still going to have Cole. Still got DeMarcus Robinson. They still got Tyreek. Mahomes is probably going to get paid like crazy here soon. So I need to bolster the defense a little bit. But, yeah, that CEH take, going to be a lot of thinking going on in my house, boys.
Yeah, one little thing that not a lot of people are bringing up, and it's probably insignificant, is I thought it was a little interesting that they went with CEH with their history at running back and all the domestic violence and stuff, because I'm not saying he's a domestic abuser or anything, but he did have this murder investigation as a freshman where basically him and his buddies got in a car and not all of them left the car. And so I think it's a little bit of a gamble to take a guy that has some red flags when you're the Kansas City Chiefs, when you have DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, and Cam Akers still on the board. To go with the guy who has had some concerns was interesting to me, but maybe it shouldn't be at this point with Kansas City.
No, I'm sure Tyreek Hill will mentor him and take him under his just fine.
Oh, man. Well, let's jump into the second round now. The Cincinnati Bengals took T. Higgins, wide receiver out of Clemson. Wide receiver I had higher on my big board. Slips into the second round, 6'4", 216 out of Clemson. Really big guy. I like this pick. I think it made more sense for some teams in the first round, like a Philadelphia, maybe even a Minnesota. Some teams there, I think he probably fit a little bit better. But I think going and helping a Burrow, you're going to have Burrow start week 1. Grabbing another 6'4", 216 wide receiver, good hands, pretty good body control, big-bodied target, is going to help your rookie quarterback more than anything. Rookie-wise, I don't really know where he fits in now, probably a second-round pick. But it definitely helps Burrow out for sure.
Yeah, man, they got a lot of talent there at wide receiver. I mean, I've always been a big Auden Tate fan. What is he now? Like wide receiver 5, 6? Like, good God.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like Higgins. I think it's smart. I think they're just planning for the future. They're obviously assuming that AJ Green is going to leave next year, or maybe he gets traded. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the pick long term. I don't think I would actually maybe put out some offers to Tyler Boyd owners that may be a little scared too.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still going to be fine. He'll still operate out of the slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, dynasty-wise for me, it's a really interesting one because I like the pick for their offense a ton. I think getting Burrow as many weapons as possible, that's the ideal. But when I look at their offense, John Ross is going to be the blow-the-top-off speed guy. He's one of the best at that in the league, even though he drops everything. And then you're going to have Boyd in the slot, possession guy doing stuff over the middle for the most part. And then A.J. Green is kind of that, high-pointing guy. You can play on the outside as well. And I kind of think where T. Higgins fits in all that is the A.J. Green role. And so it feels to me like – I'm not saying he's A.J. Green talent-wise. I don't think he scratches that level. But I think in terms of their plans, he makes a lot of sense for life after A.J. Green. I'm not sure life with A.J. Green is going to be great for T. Higgins.
I agree, Benny. I don't think they're going to keep all those guys. And I do think that probably means – maybe not right now, but they're definitely planning for life after AJ. And, go ahead and do that now while you've got a young quarterback. So with the second pick in the second round, the Colts take Michael Pittman, wide receiver out of SoCal, USC. So 6'4", 223. Not super familiar with this guy. I mean, I watched him at the combine. I've seen a little bit of his tape, but pre-draft analysis, I think he's, pretty good sized guy and everything. I mean, he doesn't really do it for me, I guess, here with this pick. I think there were probably some better options for me, but what's y'all's take on him?
I kind of think he He fits what they're trying to do there. He's what he really reminds me of is I don't think they succeeded with it because of injuries, but they brought in Devin Funchess. They had Eric Ebron. So I think that is kind of the role that they're looking for. And so they weren't looking for necessarily a guy's going to blow the top off. They have that in Paris Campbell already. And so he's going to be their red zone guy at least. And from what I've seen from him, I think he could be more, but I'll say safely he's going to be a good red zone wide receiver for them. And I think that's why they brought him in.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fun offense, especially if Paris Campbell, I think he just had a rough rookie year, dealt with injuries. Obviously, it was a learning curve for him, but I expect him to bounce back and be better. I like Naheem Hines. We are going to talk on the running back that they drafted in a little bit. But yeah, that offensive line is one of the best in the league. So yeah, that could be a dirty offense here in a few years. They're going to need to figure out quarterback.
Yeah.
But yeah, Colts fans should be excited. Josh should be excited.
Yeah. Go buy Paris Campbell now. While people are still kind of down on him and while Pittman was grabbed, go get him. He's a nice little stash.
He's very cheap too. In those startups I've been doing, I got him like dumb late.
Stupid late.
Yeah, 30th round at some point after that.
So let's get into maybe after CEH, what was the craziest pick for me to begin this second round. So with the third pick, the Detroit Lions, who have Kerryon Johnson, select the Andre Swift, running back out of Georgia, who a lot of people in 2019 have as the pretty unwritten 101 out of rookie drafts. So now you put him with Matt Patricia up in Detroit. Is he going to share a room with Kerryon? We're not quite sure. But, man, I can't quite mentally process whether I care for this or not.
Yeah, I mean, I know as a Kerryon owner, I'm certainly not crazy about it. But, I mean, I think if you're high on DeAndre Swift, you probably can't be too pumped about it either just because I think Kerryon is good. I think they'll still give him touches. And Matt Patricia comes from the school of Belichick. He thinks he's a mini Belichick, and he'll do the same dumb, he'll try and do the same stuff and not favor running back and stuff. So, I am kind of worried about DeAndre Swift immediately, but overall, he's definitely the running back he wants.
Yeah, so I don't think Adam will like hearing this because depth chart wise, I don't really think it's a huge deal. I think Kerryon's the backup. But I agree it's the coach for me. Even if he gets the workhorse role, which I think he should, I don't trust Matt Patricia at all to create any sort of competent offense. He hasn't shown it yet. And even what he has shown has been an affinity for passing and creating some, good passing looks for Galladay and Marvin Jones.
Yeah.
And so I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yeah, that team's got a lot of problems right now. Matt Stafford, what is he like right now? Can he stay healthy? Marvin Jones is getting a little bit older, isn't he? He's probably 30. Galladay's great. We're all big TJ Hawkinson believers. We really think that he's going to have a good year this year.
Hawk.
Yeah, and obviously, their defense is kind of questionable now. They got Okuda, which is nice when they've, traded off Slay. I'm a big Tavai guy. I think Trey Flowers and stuff has a better year. So, yeah, but I agree. The pairing with Patricia is concerning there. So let's go ahead and just continue the chaos. And sorry, Josh, I'd probably just turn your volume down a touch for the next 5 minutes or so, because we're going to talk about the Colts' 9th pick in the second round. The running back out of Wisconsin, a lot of people's RB1 off their big board. Jonathan Taylor jumps into a running back room full of Marlon Mack and Naheem Hines. So, wow. Yeah. What do you guys think?
Jeez. I did not expect that one.
No.
Is this a situation of Jonathan Taylor was the best player available and they didn't want to let him pass?
Well, didn't they trade up, or am I?
There is a trade there. They might have traded up some
Because they picked Pittman, and then I think they traded up
from Cleveland, but it doesn't really show me if it was up or down.
Yeah, but for me, it's really interesting because as a rusher, Jonathan Taylor might lead the league in rushing as a rookie. I really think that line he's getting into, amazing. But Nyheim Hines is such a good receiving back that I really could not see any reason to keep Jonathan Taylor on the field on third down on passing situations. And so I think he might end up, even though he's not the same size, not the same type of runner, he might end up the next Derrick Henry, a guy who's doing a ton of damage rushing, but is just never going to be a huge receiver for us, which it was disappointing because I thought someone might give him the Fournette treatment and give him 100 targets, even though he's so-so.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know how it's going to go. He may just be so good, though, that it doesn't even matter. He's not used on third down. He cribbed so many touches. Like it's like I don't know. He was so impressive. Like in what I've seen of him. It might be one of those situations where it's just best player available. Bobby, I think you're right. But yeah, I think they're just building for the future. I don't think Marlon Mack is going to be in that equation.
Yeah.
Clearly, they're not going to pay him now. I mean, he's
yeah.
So yeah, you're probably right. It'll be Taylor and Hines. That'll be the future there, and we'll see what he looks like as a receiver. They could maybe, if he's adequate at it, maybe give him the whole backfield.
Adam, I think I don't know if you remember this or not, but late last year, I think before the season started, Joshy Boy in XFFL was kind of floating out Marlon Mack's name a little bit. And you even said, I think Mack is a good sell right now just because you felt like he only probably had a 2 to 3 year stint probably in the league.
Yeah. Mack should have been a sell. I mean, because he was worth a lot.
Yeah.
You could have gotten at least a first out of him probably at a certain point last year. I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just saw that coming, man. That's well, and was I don't believe Mack was brought in by Ballard, right? I don't think Ballard was there.
No.
So Ballard's gonna want to go get his own guys, and he did that with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, but go by Nyheim Hines. Look at Austin Eckler's numbers last year with Phillip Rivers. It's a check down king.
Yeah, and also if you're in return yard leagues, Nyheim Hines is a baller, man.
Yeah,
I think Eckler and Gordon would probably be the best upside for Jonathan Taylor because Melvin Gordon wasn't, he was actually a really good pass catcher and he wasn't schemed out as a pass catcher. They just really schemed Austin Eckler in. And so I think the hope would maybe be Jonathan Taylor gets good enough or is good enough at pass catching that they can put Nyheim Hines in the slot a little bit or do some more creative stuff and involve them both.
Yeah. Dirty offense, though. I mean, that's crazy now. You add Pittman and you add Jonathan Taylor. You still got T.Y., Paris Campbell, Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox, Trey Burton.
Yeah.
Did they bring in Trey Burton?
Yeah.
Part of me wonders how much influence Rivers had on them bringing him Taylor because they didn't necessarily need a running back. But Phillip Rivers says, I just signed a nice contract to come to you boys. Let's get me a wide receiver in Pittman, and then let's come back and let's get me Jonathan Taylor, and let's go to work.
He's like, I need as many small guys around like a 5 to 10 yard radius around me that I can throw to as possible. So let's get to what might be one of Ben's most favorite picks in the draft. The 10th pick in the second round, Colorado wide receiver Laviska Shenault goes to Duval in Jacksonville. So, Benny boy, do you like this pick for your boy Visca?
So it's really funny. I'm not a Jacksonville fan in any way, but every year I found myself watching so much Jacksonville, and then I sell Fournette, and now I got DJ Chark, and my boy Laviska from CU is going there, so I'm gonna watch a lot of Jags again. But no, As a Chark owner, I really like it because I think Chark can keep that outside dominant role, and then Laviska Shenault is going to eat in the slot and on gadget plays, and you can get so creative. And with those two athletes running around and Gardner Minshew, and man, if they can just get things right with Fournette for one more year, they could actually have a pretty solid offense going there.
Yeah, but even if not, if they do end up trading Fournette, oh my God, like they'll use Laviska, like Debo, but probably even more so.
Yeah.
Look, Debo like low key got like 200 rushing yards and like 4 touchdowns or something, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I like that. I like that there. I like what Jacksonville's doing.
Yeah, Jacksonville's a fun team, and Josh and them will talk about it in the IDP section, but they have one of my favorite IDP grabs in Chase On. I think that's a great grab for them there on the edge and a need. We'll see if they can keep Yannick or not, but they still got Josh Allen. I think they need to figure out another linebacker spot at some point. But anyways, we won't talk too much defense here.
One other thing, though, I think it's also important to keep in mind that Minshew probably isn't the long term answer there. So there's a chance that
I'm in the minority. I from what I saw as a rookie, I think he's gonna make it. He had too many fumbles. He was a little shaky with the ball at times, but he showed a lot of flashes that I don't see out of some guys who get 3 or 4 years to try their stuff.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely was impressive. But what if they start out slow? Then they're going to have every incentive to tank. And, we know all about these quarterbacks in next year's class. It would be a good class to tank for sure.
Yeah, so I think it's kind of a win-win, If Gardner Minshew is the guy, then he's going to go out and he's going to win some games for them, and I think they're going to be happy. And if Gardner Minshew's not the guy, I think they're going to lose a lot of games and end up with a pretty good quarterback. So not a bad experiment to run.
It's win-win. We won't talk about this next tight end too much, just because it's tight end. It's kind of like cornerbacks. But Cole Kmet there for Notre Dame got drafted to the Chicago Bears, 11th pick in the second round. Pretty high for a tight end there. Kmet out of Notre Dame, pretty good hands. But it doesn't matter when Trubisky overthrows you by 10 yards. So there's that problem as well. But let's get into some of these spicier picks. So this was the second wide receiver that Denver actually took, the 14th pick in the second round. They take KJ Hamler, wide receiver out of Penn State. Somebody that I'm pretty high on. I was a big Hamler guy. Watching him in the combine, I was very impressed with him. 5'9", 176. He's a slot receiver. Just another weapon to put there for Drew Lock. Gosh dang it, Drew Lock has got all the talent in the world. I mean, you could almost argue, gosh, he's got at least in the top 5 teams of like the 2 best receivers in the NFL right now, and Jerry Jeudy and freaking Cortland Sutton. R.I.P. Deshaun Hamilton. Like he's not making it out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, man. They have some of the best weapons around him in the league. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, Hamler for me, I think it's a really great pick because the rumor a lot going up into the draft was that they were enamored with Ruggs. And so basically you get Jerry Jeudy and then you get 80% of Ruggs, 90% of Ruggs. Hamler is really fast. And when I'm talking about that Tyreek Hill twitchiness, I see that on tape with Ruggs. Ruggs does some things that are insane, Madden type jukes that I didn't really see with Ruggs. And so I'm not even sure they got the worst speed wide receiver. And then they got arguably the best wide receiver in the draft. So I love those 2 picks.
Freaking brilliant insight there, Radde. That's great. You're getting 2 guys for the price of 1. I love that take there. So yeah, let's get into Chase Claypool, Notre Dame wide receiver there, got drafted by Pittsburgh, 17th pick in the second round. Are we so convinced that Chase Claypool is going to actually play a wide receiver role there? Do we think he's going to get switched to a tight end?
Where was the landing spot again?
Pittsburgh,
yeah.
Claypool.
That seems like tight end, right?
Yeah, 6'4", 238.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see. I mean, tight ends. They brought in Ebron, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he seems to be fit the tight end mold better.
And I mean, when you look at the Steelers, look at their wide receiver prototype: Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, Deontay Johnson, Emmanuel Sanders. He does not fit at all what they've traditionally done, which would lead me to believe maybe they see him as a tight end, because if they see Claypool as a wide receiver taking a slower, bigger guy, that totally bucks the trends of what the Steelers love to do at that position.
Exactly, Raddy. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I hurt your Ebron shares probably a little bit, but I like Claypool. He ran like what was his 40 time? Like a 4.5 or something? No, sub 4.45 in the 40, which is stupid for 6'4", 238. So the dude can move. But do what?
Even if he doesn't move to tight end, I mean,
Mhm.
with all the weapons around him, I mean, he could still be really productive and fun in that offense.
Yeah. And I guess my hope is not only because I purchased him, but I just hope that Ben can have another year, because they've really surrounded Ben with some nice pieces right now. We all probably thought they were going to reach and grab for Jonathan Taylor or some running back in the second round. But anyways, he's got some people to throw to. All right, Raddy. You might want to cut out for a minute for this next one.
Oh man, I'll take my licks on this one.
Let's get to the hype for me in the draft. Low key, what was maybe my RB1 on my big board. I know y'all probably think that's insane, but with the 20th pick in the second round, the Los Angeles Rams select Cam Akers, running back out of Florida State University. I don't think it's probably a move that a good organization makes. We've just seen what shrapnel has hit in the aftermath of Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks, Corey Littleton, just all kinds of mess that they've gotten themselves into. But from a talent perspective, Cam Akers is full of it. Ready?
Yeah, I mean,
talk. I won't make you talk, man. It's all right. For the people that don't know, Mr. Ben Radde is a large Darrell Henderson truther, which I am as well. I've, up until this year and up until this happened, and even maybe still now, Hendo's got tons of burst. They traded in 2019 and moved up into the third round to take that running back there out of Memphis and Darrell Henderson. Hendo saw the field, I think, like 8% of the time last year behind Malcolm Brown and Todd Gurley. So, what do we think for Cam Akers? My biggest thing with Cam Akers, and I don't know if I put this in the Slack or not, but of the yards per carry that he averaged last year, which was like 4.9 or something like that, 3.9 of those came after contact. The dude ran behind one of the worst offensive lines in like college football history, which is perfect when you're going to a team that hasn't drafted any offensive linemen and had a ton of trouble last year. So they're just prepping him for what his life is about to look like for the next year or two.
Yeah. Sorry, Ben. I know that's tough. It's really tough for you, but I think Akers is going to do great there. I mean, but you're right, Bobby. There's so many other needs. It was I don't know that it was the best football move, but I guess at this point, why not? It did seem like maybe he was the last of that elite tier of running back, right? So maybe that's why you pull the trigger there.
Yeah, this is what I'll say. This is totally probably my bias coming out, but the only way that pick makes sense for me is if McVay, being the smart offensive mind he is, looked at his division rival and said, look at what Shanahan is doing with these running backs. I need to build a stable of guys who I trust and who I think are all dynamic. And so that is my biggest hope as Henderson owner, and I don't think it's too outlandish to think McVay might be trying to build some sort of three-headed monster there. But talent-wise, I just think Cam Akers is the type of guy who should demand an entire backfield. But I'm hopeful that maybe McVay still has some love for Henderson and is going to mix him in and try to copy what Shanahan's doing there.
I think that's a great take, Ben. This last year showed us that not everybody's looking at Sean McVay anymore. McVay's finally to the point to where he's like, crap, I should probably pay attention to what Cliff Kingsbury and freaking, Shanahan are doing. McVay is not the offense to, kind of run now. So I hope Cam Akers is the guy. Just as a Rams fan, that division is stupid now. I don't really look forward to playing Arizona or San Fran 2 times a year, but, here we are.
McVay's a poser.
Yeah.
Shanahan's doing it with all undrafted guys. So
what about I just lost that one. That one went in one ear and out the other. So anyways, that's gonna be a wild ride. Woo, yeah.
So is it gonna be your 101, Bobby? You want to tell us right now? You're gonna break it on the podcast.
So let's go ahead and talk about another guy who could possibly be the 101. I'm going to skip this next one and we'll come back to this one. But the 23rd pick in the second round, J.K. Dobbins, Ohio State running back, who I know was the RB1 on a lot of people's big boards, goes to the Baltimore Ravens, a pretty run-heavy offense. And we'll talk about this here at the end, but, through all of these picks, RIP the likes of Marlon Mack, Darrell Henderson, Damian Williams, maybe Naheem Hines, Mark Ingram. Later we'll talk about Aaron Jones. Later we'll talk about Ronald Jones.
Darius Guy's got a name in his room, but it's a little bit of a fringe one, but not happy as a Guy's owner.
Maybe Bryce Love.
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely saw a lot of people not necessarily lose their jobs tonight, but definitely think like, crap, like I'm not sitting as easy as I once was.
Aaron Rodgers.
No kidding. Seriously. So let's talk about
Carson Wentz.
So I'll low key give you this, and I don't mind, and he'll probably be a little pissed off, but it's 12 o'clock on a Saturday night, and as soon as this pick happened, I had a few some flurries of trades filling in my inbox by an Ohio State University fan, and they were a bunch of crap. I won't tell you what they are, bunch of crap. But I mean, do we really like Dobbins enough maybe to take him as the 101 there?
No, I don't like him enough to take him 101. It is really interesting. They have a crowded room, but they also are going to pound the ball more than any other team. They're a total unicorn of an offense where they could have 3 talented running backs, and I would say I wouldn't put it past all of them to end up as, top RB2s. And so I think Dobbins landed in a pretty nice spot for him. Not enough for me to push him up to 101, and I don't think it's enough for me to even take him over some of these top wide receivers. I don't love it that much for him, but I think it'll get better as time goes on and some of these other people start to fade out. And for this year, I think it's a nice spot.
Yeah. It's you got to remember that Mark Ingram's already over 30, so it may not be crazy in 2020, but 2021, there's a good chance it's probably going to be all his. But yeah, it probably zaps the value of Justice Hill and Gus Edwards.
Justice Hill's too similar to him. Gus Edwards could carve out a role, but Justice Hill is just not as good J.K. Dobbins.
How late was Justice Hill taken, Ben? Last year?
I think he was a third. He might have been a 4th rounder, but I think he was a 3rd rounder just in a crowded room. But
even late last year, they were running Justice Hill a lot on special teams. So, yeah, I think that was a need for them. I agree, Adam. Mark Ingram is not super young. And I think that you're probably right. Early on in the season, you're going to still get a lot of Ingram. But I think as the season goes on, I think J.K. is going to wear into that some. But even still, that's a run-first offense. But you've got a really good pass-catching running back. So – man, that's hard. That's really hard. I really saw a wide receiver need more for them maybe than a running back need right there. But man, you talk about some muddy water with some running backs. That's some crap.
So I thought that they might hold off and be the team that takes Antonio Gibson and then just let him get 5 carries a game, play the slot. And, I think a versatile weapon like that would make more sense than necessarily getting a workhorse back like Dobbins. But,
Yeah.
He fell farther than I thought he was, so I can't hate him for best player available.
Yeah, because a lot last year they actually ran out Hayden Hurst and Mark Andrews a lot together, and I don't think Willie Snead is the guy to run opposite Hollywood. But they drafted a guy here in a little bit that we'll talk about. So the JK selection there is fine. Shout out to the Rams, Twitter PR team for just trying to throw everybody off with these Josh Reynolds and Darrell Henderson tweets.
I know.
Like the week of the draft.
Trust me, I've been eating them up.
When they take Van Jefferson with the 25th pick in the second round. As a Rams fan, I didn't love this pick. I'm not a huge Van Jefferson believer. I think there were better people out there. I would have taken Mims before him, especially. But I don't know. It's not somebody that I'm really looking to reach at in a rookie draft, to be honest with you, because you've still got the wide receiver 1 in Cooper Kupp, not but a wide receiver 1 in Cooper Kupp, and really even maybe a wide receiver 1 in Robert Woods as well. Goff throws the ball a bunch. PPR wise, those are 2 people that just eat. So not sure that Van Jefferson really holds a lot of value 2020.
And isn't he banged up right now? Isn't he hurt?
I'm not sure of that.
I thought he had a pretty major injury, like a Liz Frank type deal. Maybe that's wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's why he didn't participate in the combine and stuff.
We'll have to look into that. I'm not 100% sure, but you could be right. Benny, do you have any take on Van?
I don't mind the pick for them as in terms of player fitting need. I think if they came away from this draft with Van Jefferson, I wouldn't hate it. I hate Van Jefferson as a second-round pick. When I was doing my draft grades, I never honestly even considered Van Jefferson going in the second round. And so there was a lot of guys I had ranked higher than him who went. And even guys I thought fit the role better. I thought, maybe with Brandon Cooks gone, you look to bring in a speed guy. If they were going to reach, I wouldn't have been surprised to see him take Devin Duvernay, who that would have been probably a surprise pick, but at least it's a surprise pick that fills a mold instead of a surprise pick that's kind of stands out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right, Adam. Some type of fracture in his right foot, didn't run during the combine. So said he was sidelined 6 to 8 weeks, but fracture in a foot always seems to kind of linger. Yeah, so that's kind of concerning. So let's finish up this second round. I think we have 2 more offensive pieces. Denzel Mims, wide receiver out of Baylor, who I love. I'm a big Denzel Mims fan. I know a lot of the analysts when I was watching the draft thinks that he has a lot of polishing that he needs to work on. They don't think he's really ready to jump into an NFL offense right now. And welcome to the New York Jets. So I don't know if that was maybe the best fit for him, but I really like Mims as a player. And somebody's got to catch the ball in New York, especially with Robbie Anderson leaving town.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically the year from hell last year for the Jets. So you figure that surely to God it improved from that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a big fan of Mims. I thought he was going to go way earlier than he did, but I don't know. Keep in mind, a lot of these teams, when it comes to these big body guys, I don't think they evaluate them as well anymore. You think about last year, DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, all those guys slipped late, and they're all kind of bigger body types,
Mm-hmm.
But Mims is super impressive
Mm-hmm.
in what I've watched with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've got a pretty interesting comp for Mims. I'd comp him to DJ Chark. Chark is really tall, really fast, and he was a second-round pick who went to an offense that's pretty much devoid of other wide receivers. So I could see him, and I don't think he's gonna. I think he could do it without taking the year that DJ Chark took. I think he's the type of talent he might need some polishing, like DJ Chark needed a lot of polishing. But I think he's going to come out of it their wide receiver 1, and so. In terms of the second round wide receivers, I think I'm most interested in him, even though he went in the later part of the round, just because out of all those guys, who else can you say they're the wide receiver 1 on that depth chart right now where they landed?
Agreed. That's a good take. So speaking of muddy water, let's get to the last running back taken in the second round, the 30th pick, the Green Bay Packers select A.J. Dillon, running back out of Boston College, to join the likes of Aaron Jones there in Green Bay. So, Benny, as the ex-Aaron Jones owner, if you were to have still owned Aaron Jones, how are you feeling tonight?
So I'm not feeling great, but I'm not feeling terrible. When I look at it, he's kind of a souped-up Jamal Williams. That's what I've been saying. He's a big bruising back like Williams is, but I think he's a better version. So as an Aaron Jones owner, I'm not super worried. But if I was an A.J. Dillon fan, I'm actually really excited about the spot, even though he's kind of blocked right now, because I think he probably will be the number 2, and he's going to take a lot of red zone carries because he's built for that. But Aaron Jones, being the ex-Aaron Jones owner and watching him for years, he really does struggle with injuries. He leaves a lot of games for halves and comes back. Last year was his most successful year. He didn't have a ton of injury problems. There was tons of games where he'd take a huge hit in the first, be a non-factor until the third, or he'd play a great half, and then he wouldn't technically end up on the injury report, but he wouldn't finish out the game. And so A.J. Dillon is probably a guy who I think might go near the bottom half of the second round in rookie drafts just because he's blocked. But, man, if Aaron Jones gets hurt, A.J. Dillon is maybe a league winner.
Yeah, Dillon is like the ultimate game tape versus metrics because he blew away the combine, man. He had great numbers for his size.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at his tape, a lot of people don't like his tape. So yeah, I mean, but I think it's a pretty solid landing spot, and I think that all the starters in Green Bay from last year, they're all going to be upset. So
yeah, for sure.
I'd liken it a little bit to my Darrell Henderson pick last year. Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are both on the last year of their deals. You probably are looking at a guy who might not even see 80 touches, 70 touches this year. And then come next year, he might be a draft darling. And then I'll have him, and the Green Bay Packers will draft a running back in the second round.
That's not true, Benny. That's not true. We all know it's not going to happen. Yeah, that's it. So let's run through, and I won't do all these player by player just in the third round, but let's run through, and we'll talk about some of these landing spots, and we'll talk about some of these guys before we wrap up the offensive side. So Antonio Gibson in the third round with his second pick goes to the Washington Redskins. He's a wide receiver out of Memphis. The next player, Keyshawn Vaughn, running back out of Vanderbilt, joins Tom Brady there in Tampa Bay. So I'm sure we're going to talk about that for a minute. Back-to-back picks here for the Las Vegas Raiders. They go Lynn Bowden Jr., wide receiver out of the University of Kentucky. And then they go Brian Edwards, the wide receiver out of South Carolina. So with the first 3 picks, with their first 3 picks in the 2020 draft, the Las Vegas Raiders go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. So that is very interesting. With the 22nd pick in the third round, the Bills muddy their running back waters and select Zach Moss, the running back out of Utah, to join Devin Singletary. Let's see if that's it. Devin Asai, the tight end from UCLA, was drafted by the Patriots. We won't get into that because I'm not sure if we know too much about Mr. Asai.
I didn't know anything about the third round tight ends.
This pick right here made John Harbaugh jump out of his chair or holler or do something on Twitter. I saw.
He was going crazy.
From him. Devin Duvernay, wide receiver out of Texas, there selected to play for him in Baltimore. Another tight end there in Josiah Dugaria. Yeah, something like that.
I got no help.
Tight end out of Cincy to join Green Bay with Jimmy Graham leaving town there. And then let's see if there are any other ones. The Pats also grab another tight end in Dalton Keene, Virginia Tech tight end, to go to the Patriots, which is interesting. And then another tight end there in Adam Troutman, tight end out of Dayton, to go to the Saints there with Jared Cook. So the big ones here, I guess, that we can touch on: Devin Duvernay to Baltimore, Zach Moss to Buffalo. The bigger ones being Lynn Bowden, Brian Edwards to Las Vegas, and then the 2 big babies being Keyshawn Vaughn to Tampa Bay, and I guess that's it.
Gibson was decent too.
Oh yeah, Gibson. That's right.
Yeah.
So
the big winner here is Keyshawn Vaughn.
yeah.
So, I mean, where do you guys thinking about targeting him in drafts now?
I think he's a first round pick now. It's really crazy for me to say because he wasn't really on my radar like that. But man, the starting running back for Tom Brady, it's really hard to say he's not even a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
I agree, man. And they've also added to that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they got a steal at 13.
Tristan Wirfs.
It's just such a hard year because like most years I'm all over the running backs, but it's so hard for me to say, yeah, take a third round running back over a first round wide receiver who got that draft capital and commitment, because there is a chance that they split carries between Ronald Jones and Keyshawn Vaughn, or there's a chance that they bring someone in free agency next year because Tom Brady doesn't like Vaughn enough. There's a lot of moving parts there that you don't have with the safety of getting a first round wide receiver, but he's not leaving the first round. I can't imagine it.
And we know about Arians, how easy it is to get in his doghouse. So yeah, I mean, you gotta take that into consideration when you're drafting this guy. It may be a year before Arians even lets him play. He always goes out of his way to dog the rookies whenever he gets a chance. So.
Yeah. And let's have a moment of silence for Hunter Renfrow, Zay Jones, Nelson Aguilar, Tyrell Williams. Oh my goodness. So let's just get rid of all the wide receivers that are on our team and let's just draft all new ones. I really like the Lynn Bowden pick. I was interested to see where he went. You talk about somebody that you can like freaking use in the pistol. You can put him in the slot. I mean, you can play him as a running back. I mean, the dude is very multifaceted. I don't know how he'll translate to fantasy. I don't know if Gruden is that mind to make him fantasy relevant. He might actually be pretty irrelevant out there in Las Vegas, the more I think about it. But he was really fun to watch in college.
Yeah. I mean, they're putting a lot of electric guys there in Las Vegas. I mean, I don't hate what they're building. But quarterback is the issue.
Yeah.
We got figure that out first, and Carr and Mariota. That doesn't leave you feeling too great.
Yeah, and Darren Waller.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
so
options and Josh Jacobs too.
Yeah. Y'all want to touch on Zach Moss at all? That's a bizarre pick.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of it. It sucks for Singletary owners and it sucks for the prospective Moss owners. I kind of thought they both could be independent assets. I thought Zach Moss might get stuck in a timeshare. I was hoping it wouldn't be with a back like Singletary. I was hoping he might end up on like the Chargers or on some team where he could be the power back. I don't. It seems kind of redundant having Singletary and Moss, but I guess we'll see. They're both slow, elusive guys.
Yeah, I think that's just the new reality. Just running back by committees. I mean, there's just so many talented backs, and in today's NFL, old for a running back is like once they start hitting 26 and 27, not when they start hitting like 30, 31 anymore. It's like because there's just so many good guys coming in each year. Yeah, that's what we're seeing right now. It's just there's going to be some crowded backfield just because there's so many good running backs right now.
And even now, I think we're starting to see the shift too, to where these extensions for these running backs are just looking terrible. You're getting these teams that don't want to pay these running backs.
Yeah.
You look at Le'Veon Bell getting the franchise tag. You look at Melvin Gordon. You look at Todd Gurley. You look at, David Johnson. In a couple years after those extensions, they just look like horrible, horrible contracts to have. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of Yeah, that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard for Singletary owners. So let's wrap this up and, kind of talk about real quick. Anybody else that you want to touch on? Any people that you really think are big draft winners or draft losers after tonight? I mean, I think there's a ton of draft losers, which is probably enough to fill a whole nother sode. But anything to touch on before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so I think a big draft winner and probably the consolation for my night was James Conner / Benny Snell. But I think James Conner's the guy there, surviving the night without even a Zach Moss type running back going there. I think that was a big win. And then in terms of guys we didn't touch on, Darrington Evans out of Appalachian State was actually a really, really nice pick for me. He is another Henderson type of pick where he's not going to be great this year. He might be Deion Lewis this year. But if Henry leaves and he shows something this year in the work they give him, he might be a guy who's in line to actually take over a backfield in a year. And so those are guys I love to just target with little late, especially in this year's draft. You might be getting those guys in the 3rd or 4th round and getting some real nice handcuffs who could hit in a couple of years. So, yeah, I like that guy.
Big draft winners. For me personally, it was Minnesota. I just thought that they addressed all the needs that they had.
Mm-hmm.
Did a great job with the compensation they got from the Diggs trade. But for real, addressed all the weaknesses of the team. With wide receiver, getting offensive linemen, got 2 corners. Thrilled with their draft so far.
Yeah, I think that, a lot too that needs to be played into this is how far back the IDPs probably moved in this year's rookie draft.
Yeah, that is a good little conversation.
Yeah. None of them we all knew where Chase Young was going to go. And even where he goes, or even, you think about a 1 QB league like a Burrow guy, where now does he get pushed to? But especially the likes of Isaiah Simmons, Kenneth Murray, Patrick Queen, Zach Bond, Chason, Epinesa and Gross Matos ended up going a little bit later. Kinlaw, Derek Brown. I mean, you're probably looking at some 4th and 5th round, like IDP, relevant dudes. You're not looking at, dart throws. You're looking at legit, like, starters probably.
Yeah, it's weird how everything shifted. I think we probably all thought that we had, Chase Young and Simmons were going to be 1st-round picks. But I don't think Simmons is anymore. Maybe you can convince yourself that Queen is. I still don't think people are going to take him in the 4th. I think he'll be like an early 2nd. And I think he should be the 1st linebacker off the board. Kenneth Murray probably becomes like a 3rd-round pick.
Yeah.
Same thing with like Xavier McKinney. I think you can probably get him now late 3rd, early 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. For me, the entire draft process, I've been thinking Chase Young was a lock to go in the 1st round and probably to go early. When I'm doing my prospect mapping right now, I really see a lot of realistic scenarios where Chase Young's available in the 2nd. And I think if it was me personally, I'm not taking Chase Young over these 1st-round wide receivers or some of these running backs. And so I'd have a hard time picking him in the 1st. I don't know if consensus has changed so much that that'll be what's going on average. But, yeah, he's a tough 1st-rounder for me right now.
You think we boys could do a quick top 24?
Let's get it.
I'm down. I got nothing but time.
Let's do it.
Let's go Adam, then I'll go, and then we'll go Ben, and we'll just kind of cycle through and go from there.
All right, so I'm gonna have the 101.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is tough. Let's go CEH.
All right, CEH goes 1, 2. I will go. Man, let's go Dobbins. Let's go JK.
Oh. All right, 103. I'm gonna go Jonathan Taylor there.
Okay. Bobby, I'm sorry. I'm gonna go Akers.
I'm all right with that. Okay, Akers. We haven't picked DeAndre Swift yet, and I guess I should probably take him here. Yeah, I'm going to take DeAndre Swift with the 105.
You know, at 106, I'm going to stick with my gut and go Jeudy, but I will say I almost took Rager.
Wow.
As the wide receiver one.
And I'm going to go Lamb.
All right. I am going to shake it up a bit and go Keyshawn Vaughn.
That's what I was taking if you didn't. All right, well, I'll stick to my word then, and I'll go Rager at 109.
All right, so we're at 109.
110 there.
110, sorry. I'm going to have to be a homer here and go with Justin Jefferson.
I like that. All right, so the 111. Oh, me. I'm going to go Brandon Ayuk.
Cool. 112. This is a little interesting break-off point, I kind of feel like. But I'm going to do the homer thing, too. I'm going to take Visca. I really like his landing spot.
All right, I'm going to have to go first IDP right here. I'm going Chase Young.
Okay. All right, with the 202, I'm going to take Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, that's not. It was kind of hard going Laviska over Ruggs, but I'm just a believer in the talent there. 203, even with all the talent, I think I'll take Joe Burrow here.
I like it. I'm going to take Denzel Mims.
Oh, he did it. He sniped me. All right, I'm going to come back up and actually go. I'm going to go Michael Pittman.
Pittman, nice. Man, this is where it's getting down to talent versus landing spot for me. I think at this point I'll probably take the dynasty potential of T. Higgins and wait the year.
Yeah, I like that. I'm gonna go Patrick Queen here. I'm gonna stick with some IDPs.
Nice. Okay.
Where are we at here?
We are at
207.
the 207. Ooh, this is tricky. I am actually going to take Zach Moss.
That's interesting. Shoot, I had my pick and then I forgot it. So you just went Moss. Yeah, that. I think I'm gonna go Dylan with 208.
I was thinking that too. Okay, I'm gonna go Tua.
Tua. All right. I'm going to go Devin Duvernay.
Just simply based off fist bump points alone.
Yeah, just off that.
I mean, when a coach gets that excited, you got to listen.
For sure.
211, that's tough. I might stick with my words and my philosophy of running backs and pick up Darrington Evans here.
This is it. This is 212.
So that one was the 212 because the 201 was Young. So
well,
we don't.
I'm going Isaiah Simmons.
Okay. Let's see. Let's just stretch it out. So we'll go Simmons with the 301 and see how long until we can run out. The 302, I am going to jump back into the second round, and I'm going to take KJ Hamler. So 303, Benny.
I think at 303, well, I'll go with the potential here of Antonio Gibson, even though they've got McKissick and Peyton Barber and Darius Geis and AP.
Sure.
In that room.
Okay, I'm going to take Brian Edwards.
Okay, so the 304. Oh. Man, it gets tricky. I probably have to take Kenneth Murray here.
Yeah. I think it's getting down to the point where it's starting to be IDPs and then maybe some guys who are going to go in the 4th and 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
But I think I'll take Chase Claypool here. Still a nice talent.
I'll double up on QBs. I'll take Herbert.
Herbert. Okay, and I will actually go Lynn Bowden.
That's a good pick there too.
Nice. Maybe I'm taking Chase on here.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to go with.
Still going? Where are we at?
Yeah, we got one more pick each.
All right.
Cool. I know my next one.
Getting tough now, Bo. I'll go Xavier McKinney.
So the first safety off at 310. Oh, this one is tricky. Okay. I will actually go ahead and tip my hat and take Jeremy Chin.
I like Chin a lot. So I think this is my last pick. Not a guy I was super excited about before the draft, but judging on draft capital and team fit, I think Jordan Brooks makes a lot of sense at that pick. I think he might end up a tackle machine for Seattle.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great pick. So to kind of round things out, we took 5 running backs before we decided to take Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb at 106 and 107. Keyshawn Vaughn goes 108. Jalen Reagor goes 109. And then Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk finish out the first round. 201 goes the first IDP to Chase Young. The first linebacker wasn't taken until 301 with the Arizona linebacker Chase Simmons.
Well, I took Queen at
That's right. Queen went at like 206. Kenneth Murray goes at 304. And then the two safeties in McKinney and Chin go 310, 311. And then Radde finishes us out with the Seattle linebacker in Jordan Brooks. So, yeah.
That's a loaded draft. I mean, if you play an IDP, a league with IDP, and probably even if not,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people were considering taking Simmons in the first, and now I think he is. He's about a third rounder, end of the second.
That's wild, isn't it, man?
And I think if he goes to the Panthers, I'm definitely considering taking him higher. But Cardinals were not my favorite IDP spot.
And Simmons is one of those guys too, kind of like we've talked about with some of these offensive guys, that he's great, but it's going to be a couple years before it's really like his field, by himself. Jordan Hicks is older, we all know that, but Hicks is still there and he's still good.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're hoping for a Hicks injury, which they happen a lot, and then Campbell is just he just signed a 1-year deal. So yeah, I think beyond next year, I think it probably is going to work out okay, but still,
But for yeah, but for offense, people going into the rookie drafts need to be thinking about CEH, JK, JT, Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, Keyshawn Vaughn. I mean, I don't think you could take a Rager, a Jefferson, an Ayuk, or a Laviska at 101, but I think there's a legitimate case to be made for probably, what is that, 8 guys who could possibly see the 101. I know it sounds ridiculous, but
no, that 101 was stressful, dude. When I was on the clock there, like, God, you could go, yeah, literally like 6 or 7 different ways.
Yeah, I think people need to realize this is a different draft than we've seen. I know it's got a lot of hype, but man, did it deliver. When you look at last year, there was 3 wide receivers / running backs selected in the first round, and one of them was N'Keal Harry, who was super late, and then Josh Jacobs. Yeah. This year, there was 9 in the first, and then I lost count in the second.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with a draft where guys who last year might have been the 103, 104 are going to be the 206, 207s. And so,
yeah,
especially when you're talking IDP versus offense, you need to realize even if Nick Bosa made a ton of sense last year in the first round, I don't know if Chase Young makes a ton of sense this year.
Yeah. And I think the bigger thing too in rookie drafts, at least if you have first and seconds, like, it's going to be all right. You're going to get somebody who's like uber talented, regardless of whether you have 1 pick or whether you've got, 5 picks.
Yeah, I got the 210, and I was pretty excited, and now I'm like, I'm not moving the 210.
Yeah,
for sure.
Seconds. I'm not trading probably anything under like 306 at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And even like, the next couple of days, there's going to be still some good people out there. Donovan Peoples-Jones is still available.
The Dolphins haven't picked a running back. They could pick someone who slides in as a day 1 starter.
Yeah, Benjamin is still out there. J.J. Taylor, I don't think, has been drafted. DJ Dallas is still out there. So still a lot of good running backs. There's still a lot of good wide receivers to be had. So, boys, this has been fun. It's been a late night. We've wrapped it up in about an hour and 45 minutes. Radde at Fantasy Guru Bros, we appreciate your freaking running back and wide receiver, knowledge, just pouring it on us tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. It's really exciting being on the Big 3 podcast. The XFFL podcast is awesome, but we got 15 listeners. I'm excited to get my brand out there a little bit and just to talk football with you boys.
Absolutely, what a debut. But yeah, Ben, I mean, you're going to be looking at, say we average about 500,000 listens per so.
Yeah, sounds good.
You'll be going viral. So.
Oh, man. Well, this has been fun, boys. We're going to wrap it up for the Big 3 for the offensive portion. At some point, we're going to jump over to Joshy Boy and I think Lee and Mike W for the IDP recap, which will be not near as fun as this offensive recap has been. So thank you guys for joining us. Make sure to tune in. Make sure to subscribe to the Big 3 and enjoy the rest of the 2020 draft. Good luck to you in your rookie drafts this year. We'll see you. All right.